Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise to bring you the core insights from incredible stories.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're embarking on a journey thousands of years into the past, into a surprisingly direct conversation with an ancient king. Imagine messages from a powerful ruler etched into stone, speaking directly to you, his people.
It's a truly extraordinary concept, isn't it? These aren't just, artifacts. They're the living voice of one of history's most fascinating emperors, still resonating with us today.
That's right. Our deep dive today is into the Ashokan edicts, this monumental collection of royal orders and instructions from Emperor Ashoka.
And they're not on fragile scrolls or anything like that.
No, they're carved into natural rocks and these really distinctive polished pillars found scattered across the vast Indian subcontinent.
Yeah, and our goal today is to really unpack these foundational historical sources. We'll try to uncover their surprising insights, understand the incredible story of how they were found and, crucially, deciphered.
Right.
And explore what they truly reveal about Ashoka's reign and his, revolutionary philosophy. We'll be connecting the dots, finding those aha moments that bring ancient history to vivid life for you.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning then. What exactly are these Ashokan edicts and why are they considered so groundbreaking?
Well, at their core, the Ashokan edicts are direct royal orders, instructions from Emperor Ashoka himself.
Okay.
They were meticulously inscribed on natural rock faces and those characteristic polished sandstone pillars. What makes them unique, I think, is their purpose. Ashoka intended them as direct public messages for his subjects, for his officials.
Out in the open.
Exactly. Placed strategically along ancient highways, places where countless people would actually see them, maybe even have them read out loud.
That's truly remarkable for an ancient ruler. So this wasn't just a decree for a select few court officials or something. It was mass communication on a pretty unprecedented scale, right?
Right. Precisely. Yeah. Ashoka really stands out as the first Indian king we know of who communicated directly with his people through such widespread, enduring inscriptions.
And what was the main message? What was he trying to communicate?
His primary objective was to proclaim what he termed Dhamma.
Dhamma.
Now, Dhamma isn't easily translated. It's not just religion in our sense. It's more like a moral law, a code of righteousness. A set of principles that he believes should guide both personal conduct and state policy.
So he's using the state's power not just for administration, but to actively promote a certain kind of moral society.
Exactly. Using stone and pillar to shape public morality. That's quite a vision, especially back then.
It really is. But I mean, these messages are thousands of years old. How did anyone even begin to understand them? What languages and scripts did they use? And, how did we crack those ancient codes?
That's where the linguistic diversity of the Mauryan Empire really becomes apparent. It wasn't just one language, one script. In the greater part of the subcontinent, sort of central and eastern India, the inscriptions were predominantly in Prakrit. That was a common vernacular language.
Prakrit. And the script.
And written in the Brahmi script. Brahmi is the ancestor of most modern Indian scripts, so it's foundational.
So Prakrit and Brahmi for most of India. What about the empire's furthest reaches? Did that change as you went further out?
Absolutely. As you move towards the northwest into regions that are now, say, Pakistan, you find a mix. You get Aramaic and Greek languages appearing.
Aramaic and Greek. Interesting.
Yes, alongside the Kharosthi script. Kharosthi is another ancient script, read right to left, unlike Brahmi.
Okay.
And then specifically in Afghanistan, the edicts were actually written in both Aramaic and Greek languages and scripts.
Wow.
This linguistic variety isn't just a historical curiosity. It's a testament to the sheer geographical and cultural reach of Ashoka's empire. He was trying to speak to all his people.
So we have multiple languages, multiple scripts. This raises the big question. How do you unlock such ancient secrets? Who first cracked Brahmi? That seems like the biggest piece of the puzzle.
The huge breakthrough for Brahmi came from James Prinsep. He was an English scholar working for the Asiatic Society in Calcutta.
Right.
In 1838, he achieved the decipherment of Ashokan Brahmi. It was just a monumental scholarly feat, really. It opened up a direct window into Ashoka's world that had been closed for centuries.
1838, that's relatively recent in the grand scheme of things. And what about Kharosthi? That sounds like another layer of difficulty. How did scholars tackle that one?
The decipherment of Kharosthi is a brilliant story. It's a fantastic example of intellectual detective work.
Oh.
European scholars, people like Prinsep again, but also others, managed it primarily by comparing the script found on Indo-Greek coins.
Coins? How did that work?
Well, these coins were often bilingual and biscriptural. They had the names of the kings written in readable Greek on one side or alongside.
Okay.
And then the same name written in this unknown Kharosthi script. So by meticulously comparing the known Greek names, like, say, Menander, to the corresponding Kharosthi characters.
You could match the sounds to the symbols?
Exactly. You could piece together the alphabet. It was like having a whole series of personalized Rosetta Stones right there on these small coins. Genius, really.
That is genius. Using what you know to unlock the unknown.
Okay, so once they could read the scripts, Brahmi and Kharosthi, how did they pinpoint these messages specifically to Ashoka? Did he, sign off best wishes, Ashoka?
Not quite a signature as we'd think of it. In many, actually most of the inscriptions, the king referred to himself using titles.
Titles, like what?
Like Devanampiya, which means beloved of the gods, and Piyadasi, which translates roughly to he who looks on with favor or pleasant to behold. These were grand royal epithets.
So not his actual name. That could have been any king using those titles, maybe. Initially, that was a possibility, but the crucial breakthrough came when copies of one specific edict, the Minor Rock Edict I, were found in 4 key locations.
Which locations?
Gujarat in Madhya Pradesh, and then Maski, Nittur, and Idegalam, all down in Karnataka.
And what was special about these copies?
These copies uniquely combine the name Ashoka, spelled out alongside those familiar royal titles, Devanampiya Piyadasi.
Ah, there it is. The direct link.
Exactly. That was the smoking gun, so to speak.
Yeah.
Epigraphists, those are the scholars who study ancient inscriptions, could then go back and examine all the texts,
Right.
both the ones with the explicit name and the many more with just the titles. And what they found was remarkable consistency.
In what way?
In terms of the content, the specific messages, the style of the language, the actual paleography, that's the study of the ancient handwriting styles. It all matched up. This consistency confirmed that the same ruler issued them all. And also, the deeply personal, often reflective tone in many edicts made it pretty clear these weren't just bureaucratic decrees, but Ashoka's own words, his own voice.
Okay, so we've understood what these edicts are, this amazing direct communication, and the remarkable story of how we learn to read them. Now, how many of these incredible documents do we actually have, and how do historians sort of categorize this grand archaeological puzzle?
It really is a puzzle, putting together Ashoka's story from these stones. And our understanding of his reign is largely, almost entirely, reconstructed from these inscriptions. Currently, we know of 39 distinct inscriptions.
39. That's quite a few.
It is. And scattered across a vast geographical area covering modern-day India, Nepal, Pakistan, and even Afghanistan, shows the reach of his empire.
And they weren't all created at the same time or on the same kind of material, were they? You mentioned rocks and pillars.
That's correct. There's a fascinating chronological development you can sort of trace. In the earlier part of his reign, it seems Ashoka's edicts were inscribed primarily on natural rock faces. We call these, logically, rock edicts.
Makes sense.
Later on, perhaps as his reign became more established, his vision maybe more refined, he transitioned to using those magnificent, highly polished sandstone pillars, often topped with elaborately sculpted animal capitals, lions, bulls, elephants.
Yes, the famous Ashoka pillars.
Exactly. Those are the pillar edicts. And it's interesting, the evidence suggests that the minor inscriptions, the shorter ones, actually came before the major, longer ones chronologically. Maybe he started small.
An evolution in his messaging strategy, perhaps.
Could be. And we also have 2 unique separate edicts found only at Dali and Jogada in Odisha, which we should definitely talk about later.
Okay, so rocks first, then pillars. Minor, then major. How do scholars further categorize these messages? Is it just by what they're written on?
No, we also classify them by content and location, really. It helps organize the information. We generally group them into 3 main types. First, the rock edicts. These include the 14 major rock edicts, a kind of core set of pronouncements. Then there are those 2 separate rock edicts I mentioned, and various minor rock edicts, which are shorter and found in more places.
Okay, rock edicts. Major, separate, minor. What's the second type?
Second, the pillar edicts. Again, you have major and minor. There are 7 major pillar edicts, mostly found on pillars in the Gangetic Plain, and then several minor pillar edicts.
And these minor pillar edicts, are they all the same?
No, some are quite specialized. For instance, you have the schism edicts found at important Buddhist sites like Allahabad, Sarnath, and Sanchi.
Schism edicts. What were they about?
They were specifically aimed at preventing divisions or schisms within the Buddhist monastic community, the Sangha. It shows Ashoka's direct concern for the integrity and unity of Buddhism.
Interesting. Protecting the Sangha. Any others?
Yes, there are also the two Terai pillar edicts in Nepal, one at Nagali Sagar and the famous one at Ruminde, which marks Buddha's birthplace, Lumbini. And there's the Queen's edict on the Allahabad pillar, which mentions gifts made by Ashoka's second queen.
Wow, quite specific. And the third main type.
And finally, we have the cave edicts, specifically 3 inscriptions found in the Barabar caves in Bihar, which Ashoka dedicated to ascetics of the Ajivika sect.
Ajivikas, so not Buddhists.
No, a different ascetic group, which shows his tolerance extended beyond just theoretical pronouncement.
Okay, so rock, pillar, and cave edicts. Beyond just the surface they're on, or their size, is there a general difference in what these categories of edicts talk about, of the thematic difference?
Yes. Broadly speaking, there is. It gives us some insight into Ashoka's maybe shifting focus or different audiences. The major edicts, whether they're on rock or pillar, tend to be primarily moral and political in nature.
Okay.
They express the general doctrine of Dhamma as Ashoka envisioned it for society, and they detail his core state policies related to welfare, justice, tolerance.
So, the big picture stuff.
Exactly. The minor edicts, on the other hand, often tend to be more specifically religious in content. They have more extensive mentions of the Buddha himself, the Sangha, particular aspects of Buddhism, and even references to Buddhist scriptures.
So maybe aimed more directly at the Buddhist community or dealing with more internal religious matters.
That's a common interpretation, yes.
Yeah.
It might suggest a more personal religious expression or a direct address to fellow Buddhists compared to the broader societal message of the major edicts.
That's a helpful distinction, Major, for broad policy and Dhamma for everyone. Minor, perhaps more focused on Buddhist affairs. Let's now dive into the core messages themselves, especially those 14 major rock edicts. They seem to really showcase Ashoka's vision, don't they?
Absolutely. They're fundamental. Each of these 14 major rock edicts carries a specific message or theme, and they're mostly found grouped together, though sometimes in complete sets in 10 different locations across his empire.
10 locations. Widespread.
Very wide. From Afghanistan and Pakistan in the west to Andhra Pradesh and Odisha in the east. And rather than just listing them one by one, maybe it's more useful to explore their themes. That really captures Ashoka's developing philosophy, I think.
Perfect. Let's go on a thematic journey through his most prominent messages. Where does he start?
Well, we can group some of the early numbered ones around Ashoka's initial moves towards, let's say, ethical governance and social welfare.
Okay.
Edict the First, for example, notably prohibits animal slaughter, especially in the royal kitchens, and bans many types of festive gatherings, samajas, that often involved animal sacrifices or perhaps excessive revelry. It's a clear signal of a shift towards nonviolence, ahimsa.
Right out of the gate, a major change.
Then Edict II discusses very practical welfare measures, things like establishing medical treatment facilities for both humans and animals. He even talks about planting medicinal herbs and roadside trees, digging wells.
Wow, infrastructure for well-being.
Exactly. And interestingly, Edict II also mentions by name various independent kingdoms to the south, the Cholas, Pandyas, Satiputras, Keralaputras, even Tamraparni or Sri Lanka. It shows his awareness of the broader geopolitical landscape, even while focusing on welfare within his domain.
So he knows who his neighbors are, even if he's not planning to conquer them anymore. What else in these early edicts?
Edict III highlights social virtues, things like generosity to friends, acquaintances, relatives, and importantly, to Brahmins and ascetics. It also emphasizes moderation in spending and saving, and it details his administrative innovation.
Oh.
He talks about sending out specific officials, the Yuktas, Rajukas, and Pradesikas, on inspection tours every 5 years, their job, to instruct people in Dhamma alongside their regular duties.
So building Dhamma into the state machinery itself.
Precisely. He says this was instituted 12 years after his coronation. It's Ashoka creating a new kind of bureaucracy, one dedicated partly to moral oversight, quite forward-thinking for his time.
So early on, he's setting ethical guidelines, focusing on welfare and building systems to spread Dhamma. What about the deeper philosophical shifts, particularly after Kalinga?
That leads us to edicts like Edict IV. This one is profoundly symbolic. It speaks of the triumph of Dhammagosa, the sound, or drumbeat, of righteousness over Barigosa, the sound of the war drum.
The shift from war to peace.
It's a clear public declaration rejecting military conquest as the primary aim of the state, replacing it with the propagation of morality. Then Edict V tackles social issues, like concerns about the proper policy and treatment of people towards their slaves and servants. And it again emphasizes the role of those special officers, the Dhamma Mahamatras, whom he appointed specifically to promote Dhamma among all sects and people, including looking after the welfare of servants and masters alike. He mentions appointing them 13 years after his coronation.
So a clear shift from war to moral governance, and a practical concern for social justice and the treatment of the vulnerable. What else do we learn about his style of leadership?
Edict VI is fascinating for the glimpse it gives into his personal work ethic and accessibility. He expresses his desire, his anxiety almost, to stay informed about the conditions of his people at all times.
How so?
He states that official reporters, the Petavaдаkas, can bring matters concerning the people to his attention anytime, anywhere, whether he is eating, in the harem, in his private chambers, even while traveling.
Wow. That 247 availability, basically.
It really emphasizes his commitment to responsive governance and outlines his dedication to welfare measures. He says, all men are my children, essentially, and he feels responsible for their well-being.
That's a powerful statement about direct accountability. What about his approach to the diversity of religions in his empire? Dhamma wasn't the only path people followed.
That's a crucial point, and he addresses it directly. Edicts 7 and 12 are both centrally focused on religious tolerance.
Tolerance. How does he frame it?
He emphasizes the need for tolerance among all religious sects. He argues that the root of tolerance is restraint in speech vakagudi. People should avoid praising their own sect excessively or condemning other sects without good reason.
So don't elevate yourself by putting others down.
Precisely. He says that by honoring other sects, one actually honors one's own. It's a remarkably sophisticated plea for religious harmony, essential for holding together such a diverse empire. And connecting to his personal faith, Edict VIII records a very specific event.
Yes.
His first Dhamma Yatra, or pilgrimage tour, undertaken 10 years after his coronation. He specifically mentions visiting Bodh Gaya, which he calls Sambodhi, the place of the Buddha's enlightenment and the sacred Bodhi tree. This highlights his personal devotion to Buddhism as the source of his inspiration.
So he's promoting broad tolerance while also personally engaging deeply with his chosen Buddhist path. What other aspects of his ethical framework stand out in these major edicts?
Well, Edict IX criticizes many popular ceremonies and rituals, things done for weddings, births, journeys, as being of little real merit. He contrasts them with the ceremony of Dhamma, which involves proper conduct toward all beings, generosity, and self-control. He says that yields great fruit.
So substance over empty ritual.
Exactly. And Edict X takes it further, condemning the very human desire for personal fame and glory. He argues that the only glory worth having is that people follow Dhamma. It's a radical rejection of conventional imperial ambition, isn't it?
It really is, to downplay personal fame like that.
And Edict Mechtmix tries to define Dhamma further. It says there is no gift like the gift of Dhamma, no distribution like the distribution of Dhamma, no kinship like kinship through Dhamma. He's elevating moral conduct and righteous living above everything else, material wealth, even family ties in a way.
These really paint a picture of a ruler trying to fundamentally transform society's values, not just govern territory. And then we arrive at what many consider the most pivotal edict, the famous one, Edict Uthurth. This is truly the heart of Ashoka's transformation story, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Edict XIII is perhaps the most famous, the most studied, and certainly the most emotionally resonant of all the edicts. It directly addresses the Kalinga War.
What does it say?
It records the immense scale of the suffering caused by the conquest of Kalinga, hundreds of thousands killed, deported, or otherwise perished. Ashoka expresses his profound remorse, his deep sorrow and regret over this violence.
A public admission of regret from an emperor.
Unheard of, really. And crucially, he outlines his subsequent transformation. He declares that the only true conquest is conquest through Dhamma, Dhamma Vijaya, not military conquest. He speaks of replacing the sound of the war drum with the sound of Dhamma.
And does he mention applying this new policy?
Yes, remarkably he does. He mentions his conquests by Dhamma having already borne fruit, not only within his empire and among border peoples, but also far beyond, among the realms of 5 contemporary Hellenistic Greek kings.
Greek kings, which ones?
He names them. Antiochus II, Theos of the Seleucid Empire, Ptolemy II, Philadelphus of Egypt, Antigonus Gonatas of Macedonia, Magus of Cyrene, and Alexander of Epirus or Corinth.
Wow, that provides a definite time frame and shows the extent of his diplomatic reach.
It does. It anchors his reign chronologically and shows his new foreign policy was not just theoretical. He was actively sending envoys to spread Dhamma peacefully across the known world, as well as mentioning his influence among southern kingdoms like the Cholas and Pandyas again.
A stunning turn from brutal aggression to advocating global empathy and diplomacy. And what about the final major rock edict?
Finally, Edict 46 serves as a sort of colophon or concluding statement for the series. It describes the purpose of engraving these inscriptions across the country, sometimes abbreviated, sometimes expanded, sometimes repetitive, ensuring the message endures and reaches everyone. It's Ashoka's meta-commentary on his own communication project.
That's a truly comprehensive look at his moral and political vision laid out in stone. Now, you mentioned specific sites having unique features. Let's talk about some of those, because the location and context must add so much meaning. Dholi, for instance, in Odisha.
Dholi is incredibly significant. It's located on the banks of the Daya River, which is widely believed to be the actual site, or very near the site, of the brutal Kalinga War.
So right at the source of his transformation.
Exactly. The atmosphere there is quite powerful. The site contains rock edicts high through X and 14th, but notably omits 11, 12, and 13.
Ah, the ones about Dhamma's superiority and the Kalinga remorse. Why omit those?
We'll get to that. Dholi also has the two unique, separate Kalinga edicts, which are found only there and at another Odisha site, Jagada. And visually, there's something else remarkable at Dholi.
What's that?
Carved directly onto the same rock outcrop as the inscriptions emerging from the stone is the forepart of a magnificent elephant. It's considered one of the oldest monumental sculptures in India, likely carved during Ashoka's reign. A symbol of strength, perhaps, but now pacified. It's very evocative.
An elephant emerging from the rock.
Wow.
And what's unique about those separate Kalinga edicts found there at Jagada, you said they were placed at 11, 12, and 13?
Yes. Instead of the standard edicts, these separate edicts contain specific instructions to Ashoka's officials administering the newly conquered Kalinga territory. They emphasize justice, impartiality, and compassion. And crucially, separate Kalinga edict contains that incredibly poignant declaration. All men are my children.
All men are my children, directed specifically at the people he had just conquered.
Yes.
Yeah.
And scholars widely believe that Edict 11, 12, and especially that the one detailing the horrors of the Kalinga War and his remorse, were deliberately omitted from Dholi and Jagada.
Why?
Out of compassion. To avoid rubbing salt in the wounds, essentially. To avoid deepening the sorrow and trauma of the Kalinga people by constantly reminding them of the devastating war fought on their very soil. It seems like a deliberate act of sensitivity and reconciliation.
That adds such a profound layer to his message. Leadership through empathy, even in how he delivered the message. Now, another fascinating site you mentioned is the Junagadh inscription, also known as Girnar, in Gujarat. You said this was just an Ashokan site.
That's right. Girnar is amazing because it's like a historical document layered onto one giant rock. You have Ashoka's full set of 14 major rock edicts there, beautifully inscribed.
Okay.
But on the same rock, there are later inscriptions. A long and very important inscription from the Shaka ruler Rudradaman I, dating to around 150 CE.
A couple of centuries later, what does this inscription say?
Rudradaman's inscription is famous for a few reasons. It's one of the earliest long inscriptions in Sanskrit, and it commemorates his repair of the Sudarshana Lake, a large reservoir nearby which his inscription explicitly states was originally built by Pushyagupta, a governor under Ashoka's grandfather Chandragupta Maurya, and later adorned with conduits by Tushasva, a governor under Ashoka himself.
Wow, so it directly references the Mauryan administration from centuries before.
Yes, and Rudradaman makes a point of mentioning that a terrible storm had breached the lake, and he repaired it using his own funds, crucially, without imposing any extra tax or forced labor vishti on his subjects for the work.
Highlighting his own benevolence, perhaps in contrast.
Perhaps. It shows a continuity of concern for this vital piece of infrastructure. And then even later, around the 5th century CE, there's another inscription from the Gupta ruler Skandagupta recording his subsequent repair of the same lake.
That's incredible. A single rock acting as a record book for centuries of governance and public works related to that lake.
Exactly. It shows the enduring significance of these locations and how different rulers inscribed their own achievements alongside Ashoka's foundational messages.
Amazing. Just for our listeners, could you quickly list the 10 key places where the full or near full sets of the 14 major rock edicts are found? just to give that sense of geographical spread again.
Certainly. So starting in the northwest, you have Mansehra and Shahbazgari in modern Pakistan. Then Kandahar in Afghanistan, though that one's fragmentary and includes Greek and Aramaic versions. Moving into India, there's Khalsi in Uttarakhand, Gurner, which we just discussed, in Gujarat, Sopara near Mumbai in Maharashtra, though only fragments survive now. Then in the east, Dali and Jogada in Odisha. And down south, Sanadi in Karnataka, a relatively recent discovery, and Yeragudi in Andhra Pradesh.
That really covers the subcontinent.
It does. And it's worth remembering that the Shahbazgari and Mansehra versions in Pakistan are the ones written in the Kharosti script, reading right to left.
Got it. And finally, let's talk about a truly unique discovery you hinted at. Kanaganali in Karnataka. What makes this Buddhist site so profoundly special? You said it gives us almost a literal connection to Ashoka.
Kanaganali is extraordinary. It's located on the Bhima River, and excavations there, mainly starting in the 1990s, revealed a major Buddhist monastic complex centered around a large stupa, a Mahastupa. Yeah. Inscriptions found there actually refer to it as the Adhoga Mahachaitya, which might mean the Great Shrine of the Netherworld, or perhaps just the Great Shrine located downstream. This stupa wasn't built all at once. It seems to have developed over 3 main constructional phases.
Spanning what period?
From the Maurya period, Ashoka's time in the 3rd century BCE, through the early and later Satavahana periods, right up to about the 3rd century CE. So 6 centuries of continuous development.
A long-lived sacred site. But what was the really big reveal? The connection to Ashoka himself.
The truly groundbreaking discovery, the one that made headlines, was found among the sculpted limestone slabs that once adorned the drum of the stupa. It's a relief carving, a stone portrait depicting a royal figure, clearly labeled.
Labeled how?
The figure is shown standing surrounded by women who appear to be his queens and female attendants, and right near his head, etched in the Brahmi script of the Ashokan period, is the label Ranyu Asoko.
Ranyu Asoko, King Ashoka.
King Ashoka. Explicitly named. This is the only securely identified, inscribed portrait of Emperor Ashoka discovered anywhere, ever.
That's incredible. So we actually have an image labeled King Ashoka from his own time.
From his time, yes. While Ashoka is believed to be depicted in narrative reliefs at other sites, like Sanchi, showing events like his visit to the Bodhi tree, those depictions aren't labeled with his name, they are inferred. The Kanaganahali portrait is different. It's direct identification.
What does it look like? Can we get a sense of him?
Well, it's a relief carving, somewhat stylized as you'd expect from the period, but it shows a rather portly royal figure, dressed in royal attire, standing with attendants. It puts a literal, if perhaps conventionalized, face to the name behind these powerful edicts we've been discussing.
That's a truly powerful revelation. To go from the abstract words of the edicts to an actual image labeled King Ashoka.
It connects us to him, to the human being behind the imperial project and the Dhamma propagation, in a way that no other source really can. A unique window.
What an incredible journey we've taken then. We've journeyed through these amazing Ashokan edicts, from understanding their original purpose as these direct royal communications.
Really quite radical for the time.
To the painstaking process of their decipherment centuries later, and exploring the sheer wealth of insights they continue to offer historians and, well, all of us.
Absolutely. These ancient inscriptions, they're so much more than just historical records, aren't they? They are profound testaments to Ashoka's unique vision of governance, his very personal transformation after the Kalinga War.
That remorse really comes through.
It does, and his unwavering commitment to this moral code, Dhamma, and, of course, the spread of Buddhism, which was clearly central to his later life.
It's truly remarkable how these messages, once lost to time, hidden in forgotten scripts on withered rocks and pillars, were then painstakingly deciphered.
Princept, the coins, the comparative work, quite a feat.
And how they fundamentally reshaped our understanding of ancient Indian history. And maybe even reshaped our understanding of what leadership can look like, that idea of a ruler speaking so directly to their people about morality.
It is a unique model. They offer this unparalleled window into a pivotal era, a time when the actual tools of statecraft administration, communication, diplomacy were actively employed for moral and social transformation on a massive scale.
And they really do leave us with a powerful thought to consider, don't they? What does it actually mean for a leader, ancient or modern, to try and speak directly to you, to everyone, through words meant to last, aiming not just to control, but to genuinely guide society's moral compass.
Not just for a single generation, but for millennia, as it turned out.
Exactly. What lessons about enduring communication, about leadership grounded in empathy, or even about the profound power of personal transformation, admitting mistakes and changing course, can we still glean from these messages etched in stone so very long ago?
It's definitely something worth pondering. How does a message truly endure, and what makes it resonate across such vast stretches of time?
Something for all of you to ponder, perhaps, until our next deep dive.